Welcome to the Claims Underground podcast with your hosts, Corey Locke and Troy Willis, where we help policyholders just like you understand your policy and how to navigate through an insurance claim. We advocate for homeowners as well as businesses when insurance companies won't pay. So if you're tired of getting the runaround and ready to find out what's really going on, then let's get down to business and learn from the insurance claims experts, Corey Locke and Troy Willis.
Good evening. Welcome back to Claims Underground. It's good to have you back. My name is Troy Willis. My co-host here is Corey Locke. I am a licensed public adjuster, expert witness, certified at IICRC, been a licensed builder or a retired builder for over 30 years of building, and then a building consultant as well. And I've actually been into claims adjusting for more than 30 years total. Corey Locke here will give you what he got about himself, and we're gonna have to sit back, get a popcorn, get a soda. We're gonna be a while, but it's a good show to hear him give his resume, and then we're gonna jump in.
Yeah.
Corey.
Hey, this is Corey Locke. I'm a public adjuster here in California. This is my 35th year as being an adjuster. I started in 1988. I've been 30 years as a property estimator. I'm a triple master at IICRC for mitigation. I'm also ACAC smoke and fire consultant, and I'm an expert witness. And I am just so pleased tonight that Troy and I are going to bring you the next installment of the Claims Underground. And 2023, we're going to be talking about assignment of benefits. Assignment of benefits. Troy, I'm not sure anyone knows what the heck that is other than you and I, and a few other folks that are in the business of actually performing, doing repairs, and getting contracts signed. So, as a retired builder, what is an assignment of benefits?
It's where the policyholder give their contractor or mitigators or third-party type vendors the right to actually go after the money for them and negotiate it for, going after get paid for them directly. It's been issues in many states, as you know. Florida's one of the biggest ones to have a big issue with their legislation on people getting scammed with the assignment of benefits because it's, you're turning over that right to somebody else to go after your money. It's almost, one would make the comparison, well, isn't that what they do with PAs when they turn over that right to you? There's a difference, though. Your contractor doesn't have a fiduciary responsibility to you, not through the state. That's a huge situation. Two, and everybody is not someone you want to allow to handle your checkbook. You get an accountant to handle your checkbook when you want everything right, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. You don't go get the gym teacher. Just because he took a tax course last year, this guy, he got out there in 6 weeks for $249. You just can't have everybody do that. And so sometimes, as being in the business and being a contractor myself years ago, sometimes you would do it to ensure you were getting paid. Because sometimes, as we both know, even in California, a contractor can't negotiate any of his estimates against the law. And so, because he'd be considered acting as a public adjuster. So that means he has to, be under scrutiny that if he get reported, he can get fined up to $10,000. If it's willful, it's up to $25,000 because he got to keep trying to get his money. So it always going to be willful. It's just who all, turn him in at that point in time. But I don't always believe it's a bad thing in a sense, though, because it gives that person who's doing the job a little leverage to get paid what they're entitled to get paid, as long as they don't abuse the process.
There's a part of every single policy that says the assignment of benefits under the policy is not allowed unless the insurance company is assenting to it. And that's part of every single policy that's out there. But they're not assigning the policy. The policy is not being assigned to the contractor. The policy is not being assigned for ownership to a mitigator. What they're assigning is their financial part that they've already performed. They're assigning the ability to be paid rather than the insured is being paid. They're assigning that benefit directly to the mitigator or contractor that has performed a service that's part of the loss. So part of the policy that says where you cannot assign benefits under of this policy, that's not what it's truly saying when you're talking about an AOB, an assignment of benefits. The assignment of benefits is just that the mitigator wants to get paid. Why would you come onto a loss and just perform all sorts of cost and incur costs for your workers that you would not be paid for? You want to have a security interest here, and the assignment of benefits is just that. I can tell you that when I was adjusting, we never paid attention to the assignment of benefits because the carrier I was working for said, "Well, we're going to pay directly to the mortgage company." Okay, fine, Danny. That's an overriding factor. But there are some carriers now that accept an assignment of benefits because it's for mitigation. The reason that we differentiate that is that mitigation uh, has already been performed by the time it's paid. So the bank really has no financial interest in something that's been accomplished. They're worried about the repair side. They're not worried about, the demolition side. They're not worried about, the side that, stabilize the loss for water or fire or whatever. So that part has already been done. So to sign over the check with the mortgage company for mitigation kind of hangs it up. It really does. It delays the process. It makes it kind of a problem for the mitigator. So a way around that is that an assignment of benefits is presented. It's a form that's part of the packet of forms that most people sign when a mitigator walks on and with his iPad and said, "Okay, you're going to sign my work order, but that work order is 10 pages long. Sign here, initial here, date here, over and over and over and over and over." It's just boilerplate, but within that is an assignment of benefits. And basically, it says we, as you, Mister and Mrs. Homeowner, assign the right to be paid for this portion that we're doing here, for this cleanup, demo, whatever it is. So if Service Master, Serve Pro, Rainbow come in and they tear out all the wet carpet, flood cut the whole house, and stabilize it for and dry it down, they have an assignment of benefits that they want to get paid. They want to be paid directly for all their good efforts. And the assignment of benefits allows an insurance company, if they're paying attention, to write a check directly to that mitigator, so they can be paid. Now, do they also list the insured? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes the mitigator and the insured is listed. That's fair. That's fair. That way they're protecting the insured's interest and the mitigator's interest at the same time. The mortgage company is not interested in any part of that transaction. It's already done. So to list the mortgage company, the second lender, whatever the heck it is, that really just is not
Unnecessary.
necessary. Yeah, it's an unnecessary, jump through the hoops, but it happens.
Well,
We've seen.
I'm sure consumers would want to know that, what would be declared fraud when there's an assignment of benefits? Because let's look at this situation. We got a contractor that comes out or a mitigator that helps you, and like you said, they should be entitled to be paid. So now, as a policyholder, most of them are very upfront. They want you to get paid. You helping me out. You're doing this service. So where does a consumer have to worry about it stepping into fraud? Is it the fraud that they think that the company's going to do something, or is it the fraud, that they think they may be, that if the company charges something they shouldn't be charged, it'll come back on them? What would be, what's the good and the bad about it? If you was telling me as a
The,
consumer.
the, the good is that you're going to make sure the mitigator is getting paid. The bad is you're kind of in the blind. You don't know from day one what's going to get charged out by the mitigator. You don't know what's going to be accepted and paid by the insurance company. So you're really kind of trusting that the bill that's going to be presented is reasonable and customary, that's within the norms, that you're not going to have a bill presented by the mitigator that's $250,000. Now, most of us stand, when we have a claim happen, and let's just say it's a water claim, no one in their right mind believes that the mitigators can come out and charge you $250,000 for a 1,400 square foot home of which there's water damage. most people just go, that's not even in the realm of what I would consider. That we all consider that these people, who come on are
Okay.
reasonable professionals, and these
Mhm.
reasonable professionals follow, the reasonable guidelines of what is reasonable and customary. Well, that's not always the case, is it?
Not
That's
at all.
not always the case.
Not they provide services that's against the law for them to provide, like providing pack out services, and they don't have any permit like or from the Bureau of Household Goods and Services. Although they came out to mitigate the loss, it's the perception they sell people on that, your insurance company sent me. Let's look at this. You called the insurance company, you filed a claim, and they told you your home will need drying out. If it's a water loss, for example, or if it's a board up of a fire, and they say, hey, we got a company we can send out to help service you. That's where the deception comes in when it gets to be the mitigators of the consumer. For 30 years, I've watched people blame the consumer. And I can grant that there's a level of responsibility, like read the contract. That's the first thing. Do your due diligence to make sure that these people are who they are and what they're supposed to do. But most importantly, if the fact that something don't seem right, it just seems that good to be true, you should be questioned. Except the fact that people think their insurance companies, their friends. I pay you premium, so I know you wouldn't send me anybody that's not right. And that is a very terrible misconception because we
It's a
see contractors they send out with no license. You know what I mean? That gets bad if you send a contractor
it's
with
an
no license.
assumption that's incorrect, and it's assumption that we all need to have people get past.
Yes,
The helping, the good hands people, the I'm your neighbor on your side. That is all ad space.
I
That's
want
to
new
sell you.
neighbors. I don't want
That,
that kind of.
that's just all ad space. That's all just to get you to buy the policy. That's not the reality of what happens when you have a claim.
No,
So, the people who come out aren't necessarily your friend. The people who come out are not necessarily on your side, and maybe they don't have any hands. But whatever it is, you got to be able to assert for yourself. You
that's
have
right.
to, as we said in the prior podcast, you don't just sign contracts willy nilly. The problem with a claim, and we're getting back to the assignment of benefits because that's part of the stack of e documents that you're signing on the iPad, and that
That's
you're not
right.
you're not reading it before you sign it, of course, because you're not in that headspace. You want this problem to go away.
That's right.
You're in this headspace of, oh my god, I've got this problem, and this problem is causing me great strife at home, and where do my kids go, and my dog is having to jump through water, and my cat's all wet, and whatever it is. It creates a lot of anxiety on your part that you're not thinking clearly, and that is used against you.
Well, do you think one factor too is the fact that, of course, they trusted this person on the other end from their carrier, and this person has no experience. They're sitting behind his desk either. I mean, let's go to that real quick. Outside of our cyber benefits, is that let's
Mhm.
say you call in, and your toilet just backed up, for a prime example, or let's go as far as the toilet. Maybe it's just been something that was dripping, and okay, you got dogs in the house. Let's just say you got a water leak and dogs in the house. I'd rather use that one. And
Right,
so, now that person on the other end of the phone, well, you just got a leak over there. It's probably not going to be covered. They're going to say that right off the bat, but we'll send
right,
somebody out there as soon as they hear water. But what people didn't know was you just turned a water leak into a category 3
right,
because of all the dog, urine and everything else has been in around the carpet. So now it's a contaminated situation. Whereas now that person behind that desk don't really know how to tell you what to properly do about your situation. And
right,
now you got the guy out there that was sent from them that's giving them this information that sounds pretty good until that contract come down. And I think it's more that, and I think the iPad is a bad situation because when they know, and I've had customers tell me this, well, when I signed it, he just scrolled to the next spot. You didn't read any of that. He scrolled because he didn't want you to see any of that. But I understand that because you got a customer that's saying, hey, but I didn't know I was supposed to pay $80,000 to $100,000, and I don't remember seeing that there. I can't answer it. I wasn't there, but I can say that there's a high probability it was there. He just scrolled by it, which is again an assignment of benefits. I think that would be something that a contractor might try to slip in, which many has done. just so they can make sure they don't deal with that person as much, and they can go get to the insurance company and charge these, excruciating fees for things that they charge it for today, like cleaning the boxes that they brought to your house to put in their warehouses. I'm still stuck on that one.
In an assignment of benefits could put you in a bad spot. And
Mhm.
in the most extraordinary way, maybe that assignment of benefits says that you're assigning the rights and the rights to own your own house. I mean, let's just be serious here. If you're not reading the assignment of benefits, you don't know what it says.
That's true.
Are you assigning the ownership of your firstborn? Are you assigning the ownership of your house? Are you assigning them the ownership of your 401k? Well, if you didn't read it, how are you saying that it didn't?
Well,
Well,
many contractors on the East Coast, and I mentioned this to you some years back ago, the contracts have power of attorneys already logged into the contract. And
and that's
so,
allowed right there.
yeah,
Yeah, that's allowed.
exactly. And that, it's a tough one. I mean, you go back to the side who's doing it. I mean, either hopefully you got somebody that's ethical, and that you'd hope to be that way. But it's the flip side of this too, where a guy might be putting out, 100, $200,000, and he's putting up a lot of money of his. And like you say, he want to ensure he get it back, and he's employing these people. But under the law, you're not supposed to rob Peter to pay Paul. So you're not supposed to be taken from another job to finance a job, which it gets into a whole other issue of law, because so many of them never follow that. Because a lot of people can't go out here and go get a bank loan for $100,000, $200,000 just because they're financing a job.
Mhm.
So it gets to be a cycle a lot of times. A lot of it's a cycle. So a lot of them see it, especially on the East Coast, that power of attorney I mean, it's normal for a lot of contracts there, especially in the mitigation area. When I was back there on the East Coast, I don't know any contractor that didn't have a power of attorney in his contract. That's the truth. And it was just it allowed him to continue to move and keep getting things built. The banks are no help with this because it has to go through these lost draft departments.
Right.
And then once they do get you a check out, which is a month or two later, then you got to go to your bank, who now puts a 15 to 20-day hold on it. And it's a couple $100,000. You got an insurer that's waited 3-4 months to get the check. And the cycle just goes on and on. And I think that's the reason, for me, in my experience, that was the reason that people dealt with having the power of attorneys in the contract. And it was always a benefit for that contractor for the assignment of benefits, just
We're
to
starting.
ensure he was getting it back.
Now, you might mention the mortgage company or mentioning checks. We're starting to see a new trend out here that there are companies that are specializing
Mm,
in that interaction between you and your mortgage. Now, whether that's between you and your contractor, between you and your public adjuster, or just you and trying to interact with your mortgage company, there are now service organizations, service companies that are charging you monthly or a flat rate or percentage
mhm,
to, be your assistants to
mhm,
take your money and send it to the mortgage and get it out of the mortgage and then give it to you.
mhm,
Now, that's problematic. You're doing an assignment of benefits in some, limited way. You're doing some sort of, a power of attorney in some limited way. All
mhm,
for that, because you're handing off your ability to do this on your own to someone else. Now, whether or not they're capable of doing that, that's a different question. And you also have to do your due diligence and not just buy into the hype of, oh my God, they'll get this for you. I think that there's some ways that they're doing this, and I don't know this completely, but it's my understanding that they're financing part of this job themselves, and
that-
they're pushing it forward with preferred vendors and financing and getting it moved along. That way, the mortgage company is feeling comfortable with signing off on larger and larger checks.
that's right.
This is precarious. You don't know who's doing what once you start signing these assignment of benefits or powers of attorney. And it always comes back to, who's doing this? Who are you empowering to work on your behalf? If it's not you, how do you trust that person that's just putting a piece of paper in front of your nose? I don't
That's
think
right.
any I don't think anyone trusts texts that come over now that says, "I'm your bank and we're seeing suspicious activity and you need to click on this link to clean it up." I think pretty much all of us say, "Yeah, that's a little pokey. Yeah, it's a little suspicious. Guys, you need to put up your radar a little higher." once you start seeing these forms come across, once it starts saying assignment of benefits, power of attorneys, it's no different than the really hokey text that you're getting to fish you for your financial information, or the emails that fish you for your day. No one's going to say, I've got my Vanguard account, and it comes across saying, we're not really sure how much money you have in your account right now, or we saw some suspicious activity. Can you log in and confirm that this is you? Well, no one says that that's likely anymore, that you should do that, because that's just suspicious as hell. Everyone pretty much has their radar up on those things: emails, texts, suspicious phone calls saying, we're your bank, and can you confirm the last 5 purchases that you made? Oh, by the way, give us your password. Everyone now has their radar up on that. So
Yeah,
guys, you all need to get your radar up on these pieces of paper that float across your nose, and you sign it. It's not a problem for you to say, I want to get this in writing. I want to get this in writing before I sign this.
that's
No,
excellent advice.
no, we can't not start your job. Then you won't start my job. Oh, then you're delaying your claim. No, I'm not. I'm asserting my rights as a policyholder, and I'm not assigning my benefits to someone that I'm not familiar with. I want to read the paper. Well, I'm going to tell your adjuster you're being non-cooperative. No, I'm going to tell them that you're trying to rip me off. There are limitations to the person stepping in front of you, and they're mostly just a functionary, an hourly employee, and they've been tasked to have you sign this iPad as quickly as possible
Right.
and get going and set up equipment and move along. There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with you asserting your position as a policyholder to say, I need this in writing before you show up. If you're going to have me sign something in writing, you need to send me it first for me to review. Otherwise, I'm not signing anything for you if you stick it to me in some sort of electronic form. My daughter had that. She was going to have someone come out, help her move, and she said to that moving company, "I'm not signing anything with you unless you send it to me in a written format or by email, so I can review it before you put it under our nose." And do you know that this pack out company, moving company,
Out.
said, "Oh, we can't do that."
Yep.
Why
Yep.
not? Well, we don't have the form. You don't have the form that you can email me, but you have the form on your iPad. Oh yeah, it's a special program. No, it's a Word program. Come on, guys. If they can't give it to you before they show up, then they're not someone that you can really, 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 really trust. A
That's a fact.
professional company will provide you with whatever you have to whatever you have to sign ahead of time. If they're not going to send it to you, find another company.
And the problem you mentioned about that iPad that a lot of our consumers may not be aware of is that, they may increase the fonts by a zoom out or zoom in, or how we want to look at it, when you make it look bigger so it'll fit the screen a lot better. But that's
Mhm.
because their contracts may be written in less than a 10 font, which is
Right.
against the law here in California. So if that contract is smaller than a 10 font, then it's not a valid contract. So, it's a very deceptive way for them to squeeze a lot of information in on one page, making it harder for people to read it, or not want to read it, not to mention all that information. But you do have to read what's in these situation, what's written in these documents. That's one of the reasons that you and I are so transparent when it comes to our customers. We transparent across the board. Every email, you don't get CC'd on or BC. You include in the line item with everybody else with the same respect as the adjuster, the adjuster's manager. Your name is in that top email as well. If the adjuster call us, we regurgitate it back in the email and we include it back with our client, so they saw what that conversation was between the adjuster. And we see them all the time, they'll take the client's name off of the email. I put for your review, as a lot of you, I forward it right over to everybody else right back. We're not playing hide and go seek games. And as you said, you have to feel comfortable who you working with. And we know, we realize we work with a large sum of money many times on these claims, and we
Mhm.
knew to meeting people too. But it is a difference, and for us, one claim to do wrong will never outdo the many that we do right, because we help so many people that is way bigger than something like, than doing wrong in this industry. That's why there's some good PAs out there. For years, I was totally against them. For years, honestly, as the contractor from the East Coast, I didn't see the benefits of it. And, it just seems like because they didn't truly advocate. They was taking any settlement to take a percentage, and they was gone. You
Right.
know, in this business, we fight. We get the headaches, and we get the upset days, and we want to take off for the week, and our family feel it, but you get a real fight when we go into this, and we drag it for months sometime. And it's and again, we try to protect our homeowners or our policyholders from the abuse, because it is what it is. And so, you have to be a strong person in this business, and there won't always be people with ethics around that will say, read this contract. I mean, how many times we actually tell them, every customer is funny, because I didn't do this at one time, honestly, Corey, and I've been doing this for a long time now. It took me years, but especially doing it as a public adjuster. Do you know I send my Word doc contract to every customer before I ever send a DocuSign? Because we went over this, we changed the DocuSigns in COVID time. I send them a hard copy every time, filled out. I just need you to be able to read, so it's not like you just kind of going through it. And I tell you, that way, if you got questions, address me before you ever sign anything, because these are state contracts. We can't change them. We can't go in here and just change something about it. They state approved contracts. So everybody know in California, I can't say every public adjuster does it legally, because recently we came across some that language ain't in the policy, in the contract, but he added it. But they're all in California. There's a contract that has to be approved by the Department of Insurance legal department. You can find that document online as well. And that's the way that all public adjuster contracts should be written, in somewhat of that form. There are some alterations to it that you can get approved by the state, but it all has to be approved, and they'll give you a number that's attached to that document, that is an actual, document that's been approved by the state. So mitigators don't get that document, unfortunately, so it's hard for them to go in there and do that, and not to move from assignment of benefits. Since we on this with the contracts and assignment benefits, people need to start being aware now. I'm seeing they throwing these mechanical liens in the contract.
Yes.
In the beginning, they just letting you know that I'm leaning your house if y'all get my money. And I'll tell you what's really bad about that. When not only are you throwing that mechanics lien on that contract, but many of these contracts are reading, you got 5 days to pay me. Don't nothing happen in 5 days in this industry.
Not a thing.
Three decades plus in this industry, ain't nothing ever happened in 5 days. I mean, I've pulled off some claims that I would have never ever thought clear. I cleared one out here in Newman in 28 days, and they was telling him no, from the beginning, because he was out of the house, pipe broke somewhere. He came home, house is flooded. They just wasn't going for it, so they said no for a while. And it took to readjust to understand it, because that was the example I gave you. We kind of fought over the pipe leak or the pipe burst, and she kind of opened herself up to it when I made her answer her own question. Then it's he's doing renovation. Not if he's putting plants outside in his yard. That's landscaping. And changing the carpet because he just bought a house is not renovation. So they cleared it, and they paid it in 28 days from us. We ain't paying nothing. But that's not a norm, as you know. It's not a norm to get a claim through within 30 days. So and that's why our contracts read 20 business days for a cancellation policy. Read the contracts, people. We, Corey Locke and Troy Willis, are the only public adjusters in the state of California with a 20-day cancellation clause. That's because
not 20. That's not 20. That's 20
business days. I'm sorry.
Guys.
That's correct. I said correct.
Business days.
Sundays don't count. Monday through Saturday,
Sunday, holidays don't count.
That's right.
You get 30 days to know what we do.
And
no one knows what we do in 5 days.
No.
No, not at all.
That's the difference in what we do and other PAs do. We don't need to lock you into something. We need to help you. If we come to the table to help you, we need to help you. And that's what it comes down to be. And I think that's been one of the best things we've come up with when we offer our services to people, because many people love to know that, especially when you break down. Because I've had people go, you got 20 days. Like, I made the mistake. It's funny. Like, you got 20 days. Like, I know the department called me too when they was going, you got 20 days. Yeah, I know we got 20 days. I get it. We don't want to use the 3 to 5 that you like using. We want to do 20. So yeah, it's been good for our people. But people do need to look out for these different outside the power of attorney, the assignment of benefits, the mechanic liens. They throw them in a contract where they're just not being looked at and viewed, because they just know people need help and they sign it for help. right away.
Yep.
So, with all that said, everyone, we're going to have our word of the evening to leave it out for the night. What would you like to share, Corey, and to make people feel a little at ease that if they sat down and they've already signed their contract and they listened to this podcast and realized we didn't read our contract. Oh my God, we didn't get a copy of this contract. Excuse me. Or we don't know what this is going to cost us. What have we done? Go for it.
All you got to do is simply ask for a hard copy and read your policy, read the documents, and then ask for clarity. If you don't understand it, there's no dumb questions unless you don't ask the question. That's the dumbest question out there, the one you don't ask.
Amen. All day, people. Signing out, Troy Willis.
Corey Locke.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for listening to the Claims Underground podcast. We hope you enjoyed this segment. If you need more information on insurance policies, feel free to check out our website, www.claimsunderground.com. And remember, when the insurance companies won't pay, we're here to help. Until next time.